DTFF.
Once again, here is Drinking and Talking Fantasy Football with your hosts, Dustin Lunt and Jake Trowbridge.
Welcome back to DTFF, everyone. Happy Tuesday evening. We are here recording live, or I suppose if you're listening to this after the fact, we're not live, but whatever. Come join us live if you're listening in audio only. It's much more fun and interactive this way.
We're still recording live, even if they're not listening live.
Fair point.
Right?
Fair
That's like
point,
a
yes.
psychological thing or something. I don't know. Anyways.
Yeah, but we are back. Less than 2 weeks from the Expo. Very excited about that. We are less than 2 weeks away from the first preseason football game.
I mean, the Hall of Fame game is coming up right around the corner, my man.
I know people like to rag on it, but it is a preseason football game. We're actually, the time is nigh where we are going to have football every week until February. Like we are on the cusp of just wonderful weekday NFL football. And I can't be more excited.
I cannot wait until the second preseason game when we all immediately start taking it for granted again. We have football back and we start griping and complaining.
Yep.
It's going to happen.
It'll happen. I'm going to try not to keep that positive attitude moving forward, spread positivity, even with preseason football. Yeah. But yeah, we're here. Got a great show this evening for you folks. We are talking bold predictions. We're getting bold. We're getting spicy. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're each going to take a position, tell the bold prediction, maybe make a couple beer bets along the way. We shall see what unfolds. But before we get into it, Jake, how are you doing this evening?
Man, I'm doing great. I'm doing even better after that proclaimment about the upcoming football, like real football happening. I hadn't internalized it yet, so thank you for helping me get there with that. And I'm also doing great because, you know, for this episode, I wanted a little bit kind of a bold beer to go along with our bold takes, our bold predictions. And the misses came through once again from Delta Beer Lab in Madison, Wisconsin. We have a blonde. A blueberry blonde. And it is quite light, quite refreshing, and quite different because I don't see many blueberry beers around. And when I do, they're all like sickly sweet.
Yeah, this is not too bad. Definitely taste the blueberries. It tastes like fresh blueberries. It doesn't taste like the fake blueberry flavoring.
That jam.
It actually tastes like real blueberries. So maybe it is. I don't know how they make it, but it's good.
That's it. That's all you got for me. It's good.
It's good. I don't know that I could drink a fistful of them. Like, it is very light. I don't find it super refreshing. You know, like it's not like a lawnmower beer where I could just sit and just like, you know, crush a 6-pack during an afternoon out in the sun.
Okay, Dustin, what percentage of all beers qualify for this? I feel like that's a very narrow scope to be judging a beer brand. How many beers are lawnmower beers in a percentage, in your opinion?
I mean, the percentage is fairly light when you talk about percentages of all beers.
Right.
However, when you think of a blonde ale, you're thinking a nice, light, effervescent beer that is easily drinkable that you could crush a bunch. So, with the blueberries, like the blueberries is a little sweet. And I mean, it's a good beer, but just not fantastic. Not something I could drink a bunch of.
It's arguably too bold for your palate, is what you're really saying.
Well, it's not too bold for this episode, but it's a little too bold for my palate. Yes.
All right. Well, I'll have to see if my predictions are too bold for your palate as well. I don't know. That could be the case here, and maybe that's why I gravitated towards this beer. But no, I'm good, Dustin. Are you well here? You're kind of going into a bachelor week, dare I say? Well, you're in the midst of a bachelor.
I'm in the middle of a bachelor week. Yeah, I've been a bachelor since Friday about noon.
Really. Like you just the missus is out of town.
Out of town, visiting family for a week. I'm going up this next weekend to visit them as well. So yes, I'm not a full-time bachelor. Sorry, ladies or gentlemen that we're hoping.
Still
Sorry to
got the
crush your
ring on it.
hopes. Sorry to crush your hopes coming up here with the expo. If you got some bright ideas there, but still feel free to buy me some beers if you want. I'll take them. That's fine. But just know that
What a guy.
that's as far as it goes. That's the limit.
All right, Dustin, do you want to get us into this drunk trade? Should we do it?
I want to say yes. However, I feel like there's a couple little pieces of news maybe we just want to lightly discuss here before we
You want to do news? All
just
right,
a little bit.
We can do news.
Well, really, there was breaking news today with
Literally
Tim Patrick.
Yeah.
Sounds like he tore his ACL. They're fearing out for the season, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah. Breaking news that Tim Patrick is broken for this year, which is really hurting every best ball team I've drafted basically to this point.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they were very high on him as a third option on that team. I've heard some people say he could even be a number 2, which I wasn't going quite that far. That was not a bold prediction I was going to make for this season, but nevertheless. And then Deshaun Watson, news came out yesterday, 6 games suspended. Any thoughts on that, Jake? Or just
I don't.
I mean, I'm sure there's thoughts, but
the only thing I will say is that the appeals process is still open as of right now, which should be through, if depending on when you're listening to this, I believe through Thursday of this week is the last time that they have to appeal it. So the NFL could still increase that amount. So stay tuned to that, I guess.
Yeah, even though they've said they will abide by whatever the judge said, we know that the NFL still will do whatever they want whenever they want. So, yeah, I just wanted to bring up those couple things briefly here, just, since they are relatively new and probably not talked about a ton yet.
Can I add one thing in as positive news so we don't have 2 downers right in a row? Deebo Samuel got a long-term contract.
Big contract.
He got a nice, big, juicy 3-year contract with a lot of guaranteed money. So that's nice, man. I love it for Deebo. We've, of course, been big Deebo stands here on this podcast, and I'm thrilled for him.
Yeah, same here. It's just nice to know that he's going to be with that team, and there's going to be that stability. Well, just the stability on the offense. With you got that young quarterback, Ayuk's still there, Kittle's going to be there. The running backs, who knows? Let's be honest, that's a rotating carousel there. But the fact that the main offensive pieces are all going to be together now for the next few years, at least, is really good outlook for fantasy.
True story.
Okay, no more joshing around here. Let's get into the drunk trade of the week.
Drunk, hammer, drunk.
Drunk trade of the week.
Dustin, I'm delighted to talk about this drunk trade. So when it comes from Kevin2713, that's a lot of Kevins over there on Reddit. I don't even know how many more beyond that, Kevin, there are.
True
Possibly
story.
Millions. But this one was actually submitted 3 months ago. This one's been waiting here in the wings. This feels like, for whatever reason, the appropriate time to talk about it. It says, I accepted a trade while drunk and regretted it in the morning. And ever since. This is a Dynasty 1 quarterback league. Traded away Jonathan Taylor. You already hate to see it. Better hope for a big haul in this second part. Received Miles Sanders, Corey Davis, 2 2022 first-round picks, a 2022 second-round pick, and a 2024 first-round pick. So, Dustin, that's a lot of firsts. That's a lot of picks coming back. I mean, that's something. That's fair. That's what I would consider the going rate for Jonathan Taylor right now, is about that many first-round picks. So why so glum for Kevin, do you think?
I think because you traded JT, and if you were a competing team and you gave away a stud running back like that, I could see how you'd be disappointed. It's too bad we don't have more context with this. But I mean, that would be the only reason. If you're not competing and you made this trade, I think it's a great trade, honestly. 2 firsts this year. It'd be interesting to know where those firsts were and who this person ended up picking. And then you get a 24 first. I think 3 firsts is basically the going rate for JT. Plus you got a second. Plus you got Miles Sanders, who could be a wide receiver, a running back 2 this year for your team.
I don't agree with that, but
I said
everything else you're saying.
I said
anybody could be anything, Dustin. You can't just put words out there. They have meaning.
That's literally what we do on this podcast. We just put words out there. And then Corey Davis, which, I mean, I'm not super high on him, but he could be a flex option for you week to week.
Some people say Corey Davis could be a wide receiver 1 again, Dustin, right?
Well,
he could be.
I guess you're the only one saying that.
No. Lots of people are saying it. No, okay. I really do think even... That's not true at all. Even without the 2 players involved, yeah, if you're just looking at it from the pick standpoint, it still feels to me like if you're sending out a trade for Jonathan Taylor, this is probably the type of thing that's going to get it done.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're right. The context that we're missing here, by the way, is just that this happened right before the 2022 rookie pick or rookie draft happened, rather. So again, trying to get those picks. I would love to know what those picks turned into, because that could be at the heart here.
Maybe, Jake, you can go on to Reddit and ask for a reply. See if he responds and says, hey, this is who my picks were. Yeah. What if you got like Breece Hall and Drake London? What if they're early firsts? I mean, basically JT is elite talent. We haven't seen Breece Hall yet, but chances are he's going to be an RB1, if not this year, maybe next year, we're thinking as a community. I mean, you could get 2 potential starters, long-term starters for your roster. So, I mean, it's not a bad trade at all. I don't know why he's so disappointed and regretful.
Kevin, I'll be reaching out to you later. Maybe we'll have a follow-up on the next episode just to cap this thing off and see what's wrenching Kevin's heart about all this. But for right now, I think this is the rare time we're both kind of in agreement that this isn't as bad of a trade as they are making it out to be.
No, unless he just has a man crush on JT and really just regretting that. Well, that's true. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But
don't even get me started on my man crush on JTT. That's Jonathan Taylor Thomas. For those of you who were alive in the 90s and watching sitcoms with me.
Home Improvement.
Yeah.
He was
in Jungle to Jungle. He was in Jungle to Jungle.
And the voice of Simba in the original Lion King.
That's true. Young Simba? Old Simba?
Young Simba.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. In any case, though,
now that we've gone nostalgia lane here.
Drunk trade, very successful, weirdly successful. So should we move into our bold predictions, Dustin? And can I hit this drop? I've been waiting all year to hit this drop.
Hit it.
I'm sure you see the ball takes quite a lot. We'll be a grown man at you right. Man, this podcast is getting hot. Time to let the predictions just drop.
Terrific.
It always speeds up just a little bit in my ears. I don't know if it does in your ears too.
It does that. No, it didn't do that for when you play it, but when I do like the intro and like the drunk trade and stuff and the outro music, it always starts really fast in my ears.
Oh, whoever clicks the button, that's what happens. Then we get the sped up weird version of it. Well, I'm glad that our listeners have no idea what the hell we're talking about.
We did this. We took the curtain and just did that just a little bit. People saw behind the curtain just a bit, and then we're just going to put it back and move
scary,
on.
Isn't it? Yeah. Let's move on to some
bold predictions here, Jake. So we each are taking one bold prediction for each of the fantasy relevant positions. Why don't you start us off, Jake, and pick any position you would like. I will follow suit, but I'll follow the leader this evening. You lead this train.
Ooh, I love being at the front of the train. Enjoy being my caboose there on this adventure of ours. And I do want to say before we even get into this, bold predictions, they mean different things to different people. I think what we've always considered here, we're not just shouting things into the wind just for fun. We're not just speaking out of our asses because we say, well, it wouldn't be fun if this thing happened. We're looking at things that are actually plausible, that we consider real realities. That's a dumb way of saying that. Real realities. Can I just like quad real? I don't, whatever. That's just, God damn it.
Just keep going. Just keep going. Just go.
Can I pull back the curtain again? That was a
No.
successful moment of the podcast. All right. Well, in any case, again, these are things that are plausible to us. We believe in these things. That's what I'm trying to say. We actually believe in
That's
these
right.
things.
Probable. Maybe not probable,
in my
but
mind.
but at least possible. Like it is within the realm of possibilities.
In my opinion, all of mine are more likely to happen than not. So that's what I'll leave you with as I venture into. I'm going to start with tight ends because you know why? We always put them towards the end. Yes, and we hate it every single time. So I'm going to start with it this time. I'm going to sneak up from underneath of it and say that no tight end will finish inside the top 20 overall finishers, non-quarterback, asterisk. That's a big thing. So of all of the fantasy players here, obviously quarterbacks are going to take up the giant chunk of the top 20 as they typically do, depending on your scoring. I'm going to say that tight ends are, at this point, irrelevant at the top of your draft. So what I mean by this is your elite guys that you consider, your Travis Kelce's, your Mark Andrews, your Darren Waller's is even. None of these guys are going to be worth their current ADPs because they're all going so high. The last time that this happened where no tight end finished inside the top 20 overall, barring non-quarterbacks, was 2016. Every year in between that, there's been at least one. Most years have had multiple. Last year, for example, Mark Andrews finished 8th overall. Travis Kelce, 14th overall. Travis Kelce's on this list every year back to 2016, by the way, just in case you didn't realize that he has been phenomenal. And then there's always some guys sprinkled in. That's kind of the new hotness. Darren Waller was there in 2020. Zach Ertz was there in 2018. Gronk would be there more often if he hadn't gotten hurt so much. But what I want to say about this, and maybe that's unfair to Gronk, but there's always going to be the guys who miss a few games anyways. I mean, George Kittle is probably a shining example of that this year. So why draft a tight end that high? You're hoping that they finish inside the top 20. Travis Kelce, I have a bone to pick with, and I don't want to overlap my bone with your bone because I see that you want to get involved in that too. So I'm going to leave some meat there for you to chew at later. But let's talk about
so many things wrong in that group of sentences you just said.
I think almost everything was right. Perfect. In fact, I could record it, play it back to myself like Tobias from Arrested Development, and I would agree with every single thing still. Let me talk about Mark Andrews so I can let you talk about Travis Kelce. Mark Andrews, for me, is a guy who benefited a whole lot from Lamar Jackson's absence last year. His game splits with and without Lamar Jackson when Tyler Huntley had to come in to take over for him. Night and day. I'm not saying that Mark Andrews was terrible with Lamar Jackson, but he was averaging on pace for the whole season to be more than 65 points off of what his finish was. That's huge for you on a weekly basis because you need a tight end drafted that high to be above just replaceability. You need them to give you something special that the other tight ends are not giving you. And Mark Andrews, I think the appeal is he's the only game in town right now. Marquise Brown is out. Their depth chart at wide receiver looks scary. I'm placing most of my eggs into the Rashad Bateman bucket, however, and that's probably where a lot of us are going to diverge. I believe in Rashad Bateman's talent in this offense, even a little bit more than I did Hollywood Brown's. And he did great things last year. I'm expecting a little bit more to go towards Bateman. I think Andrews is still going to be really good. I just don't think he's going to be top 20 good.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And as you said, mine kind of piggybacks a bit on yours here. So let's get into it. And then if you want to add anything onto it, feel free to do that. So my bold prediction is that Travis Kelce will have less than 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns this season. Yes, that's right. And this is not due to injury. I'm going to say that right now. I don't think he's going to get injured. He's been really healthy his entire career. So I don't see that changing. What has changed is the makeup of this offense. We had Tyreek Hill. He's gone, got his bag of money, and he left town and is in sunny Florida. So automatically you think, hey, Kelsey, he's the guy. Like this is the guy. There's no one else there. Wrong. They brought in a bunch of guys. MVS from the Packers. Juju, who has been a wide receiver 1 previously. Am I saying he's going to do that this year? No, that's not what I'm saying. Although I could say it later. We don't know what's going to happen here with the other bold predictions. But they've still got Mecole Hardman. They spent the 2nd round pick on him a couple years ago. He could have that 3rd-year wide receiver breakout this year that everyone likes to talk about. They've got talented players on the team. And I think this is an opportunity that because they have other, we'll say, unproven wide receivers, that they can spread the ball around a bit more. We know that CH has been banged up essentially his entire NFL career so far. They drafted is that Pacheco in the draft, who is getting some buzz here in camp early. They could be trying to run the ball a little bit more. They got Ronald Jones, so maybe they want to be a little bit more run heavier than what we've traditionally seen out of them the last few years. And since they're not hyper focusing on Tyreek and the speedster of Tyreek taking away all those, drawing the defenses away from the underneath routes with Travis Kelce. And they got Juju, who runs a lot of underneath routes. Like he is a slot underneath guy. He's not a burner. That's what MVS is.
You said slot, correct? I just want to make sure you emphasize that slot.
Slot, yes.
If you say too quick, it has a different connotation. That's all I'm saying.
It really does. And well, it could be that too. We don't know. And I'm not saying that he is, but
no judgment.
And no judgments. Yes. So point being, Kelce and Juju are going to run a lot of routes in the same general area. So that's why I feel like this is going to be the year that Kelce drops off. And I don't believe it's an age thing where he loses a step. I think it's just more of a facet of the offense changing based on Tyreek leaving.
I mean, I agree. I feel like maybe I've persuaded you over time. If I recall correctly, when we did our Chiefs divisional breakdown or the AFC West break, I feel like you gave me a little bit of guff about the Travis Kelce hatred that I was showing there. Maybe it's just because I went too far in one direction or the other. But even saying that, I don't know if I can get on board with the less than 1,000 yards. That's so tough because
that's why it's bold.
That happened was 2015.
I know.
Where you had less of both of these. 2015.
I know. That's why this is bold, Jake. It's bold.
Yes, I understand it's bold, but again, what would you give the odds here of him surpassing one or the other? So either getting 1,000 yards or getting 6 touchdowns where he surpasses one or the other. Like, what do you think are the odds that he at least does that?
I don't know. 0%. 1%.
You are such a liar. You're
1%.
such an absolute liar. You know it.
47.
For what it's worth, I really agree with the spreading out the ball theory. And I don't understand why more people don't. I get it. It's Tyreek Hill and he's gone. But yeah, these aren't schlubs that they brought in to fill in the gap. They're better than anything that was behind him last year, him being Tyreek Hill. So I agree with the spreading it out. All right, let us now go back to the top of our list.
Okay.
And go back to quarterbacks, because I have a lot to say about the quarterbacks this year, unfortunately. So bear with me. I'll try and make this as condensed as possible. But I believe the trio of Trey Lance, Justin Fields, and Trevor Lawrence, a couple of sophomore gunslingers, are going to outscore the trio of Dak Prescott, Aaron Rodgers, and Derek Carr, the old standbys here at quarterback. Now, for reference, every single one from that first group has a lower ADP right now than every single person from the second group. So they are all being faded right now. To be fair, Trey Lance and Derek Carr are close, but still, he is behind him. And I get it. Last year was really bad for the rookies. And this is me doubling down on what I said last year because I
Mhm.
had faith in the rookies last year.
You sure
And
did.
really, nobody lived up to it, unfortunately. I believe Mac Jones was probably the closest to living up to any sort of rookie expectations,
Mhm.
and that's not where you want to be. But here's why I still believe this to be the case. Let's just start with Trey Lance. Last year, Jimmy Garoppolo, he was the quarterback 16 in points per game. He did that on a team that ranked 31st in pass attempts. Okay? Why is that good for Trey Lance? That's not good for Trey Lance, but Trey Lance has legs, which Jimmy Garoppolo did not. Trey Lance ran.
Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't have legs?
He's got no legs.
How does he see over his offensive line?
God, they get him monitors. It works out. Trey Lance does not need to throw like Jimmy Garoppolo needs to throw. He ran for 1,100 yards in his last full college season. He can do that. Jimmy Garoppolo cannot do that. He also, in the 2 games that Trey Lance started last year, I know it's a tiny sample size. I don't care. But he averaged 12 rushing attempts in those 2 games. That's huge for a quarterback, by the way.
That's a lot.
Trey Lance, many better signs than Jimmy Garoppolo for fantasy. Justin Fields, in the 9 games that he actually played, like most of the snaps last year, he was averaging on pace. Let's do the on pace thing. It's just nicer. It's easier to digest. 3,200 passing yards and about 700 rushing yards. 700 rushing yards is pretty magical for any quarterback. That floor is majestic. So stretch that out. I know he doesn't have weapons. They did bolster the offensive line. I know John Sadsack Helmkamp was on here for our NFC North breakdown trying to poo-poo everything. But they added Riley Reef. They added Michael Schofield. They stole Lucas Patrick from the Packers. They have added some depth. And maybe I think a couple other guys were not added actually at the time that he was on. So I have to give him a little bit of a break. And then Trevor Lawrence gets a reset. I'm sorry to keep saying it. He gets a reset because of the Urban Meyer debacle.
Absolutely.
They did boost his weapons. I know it's not a ton, but anything was going to be better than what he had last year. And I love Travis Etienne to help him overall. And again, sneaky rushing upside. All of these guys, a lot of rushing upside. Totaling, I could make my bold prediction that the 3 of these guys will get at least, 1,500 rushing yards and 15 rushing touchdowns amongst them. And I think that's actually too sane to make it a bold prediction. So the floor is there. The ceiling is absolutely there. The other guys, I hate to say it, Dustin, Derek Carr is my favorite of that bunch, and especially at his ADP. He's the lowest out of all of them. At value, he definitely is my favorite. He's the only one who had actually had something added to his team that is not a massive detriment. Dak Prescott lost Amari Cooper, Cedric Wilson, now James Washington after his injury in training camp. Still don't know when Michael Gallup will play, but he says it won't be week 1.
Right.
Players saying it won't be week 1. That's awful.
That's never good news.
I mean, this could be a massive rushing offense now. Dak hasn't been rushing like he used to. Probably just injury concerns. He had that year in 2020. Sat out, missed a lot of time. They're probably trying to protect him, but
and it's a Mike McCarthy offense, so we know how that goes too. We're all too acutely aware of that. So I don't hate that, Jake. I think that is very bold, but yeah, I think we're all expecting these 3 quarterbacks to take the sophomore jump forward this year. Obviously, Lance didn't really play last year, so you can't really count that as like his rookie season of playing. But I think we're all expecting, a big jump forward from all 3 of these quarterbacks this season. Where, Rodgers is getting older and reduced weapons on that offense. Carr, they've got a new offensive coordinator now. I mean, everyone says Josh McDaniels, offensive genius, but he hasn't been a head coach for quite some time, and his limited stint in Denver didn't show that much. So we don't really know what to expect from that offense. We're expecting good things, but could it happen? We don't know. So, I don't hate that, Jake. I think that's a good one.
Don't hate it. I got a don't hate. I'll take it. All right. Let's move on to your quarterback bold prediction.
Mine is Jalen Hurts is going to finish as the QB1 overall this season. Yes, supplanting Josh Allen. supplanting Patrick Mahomes. Better than Lamar. Better than all of them. The number one this season. Here's why. This is his, third year in the league?
Second year.
Second year in the league. I lose track of time. Second year in
He
the
was
league.
that good that you thought he played 2 years last year.
I really did. I can't believe it's only been, that was his rookie year. Anyway, so we saw really good things the second half of the season from him. Using his legs, throwing was but he's, as I've been told, listening to other shows, which these are people I trust, which you should always do. Listen to people and look at people you trust. He could be improving as a passer, which I'm expecting him to improve as a passer, because they traded for AJ Brown, elite wide receiver. We've got Devonta Freeman going into his second season. I feel like I'm losing all my words right now. I don't know what's going on.
You know why it is? It's because I fucked you up. Because Jalen Hurts has been in the league for 2 years already. He just didn't play the first year.
Yeah.
So that's why I set you off on the wrong track.
Oh, you did. You
I got your
scrambled my
brain
brain.
scrambled.
Yes. Oh, God. So, yeah.
Grizzly Adams did have a beard. Jalen Hurts has been in the league for 3 years. There we go. Starting this year. Let's reset. Bold prediction. Dustin doesn't make it through all of his bold predictions.
Oh, my God. I am sorry, folks. Jake threw me all off. And yeah. All right. So let's go back. AJ Brown, elite. They traded for him because they obviously want to give Jalen Hurts as much support as possible. I mean, this is the year where he needs to basically shit or get off the pot. Like, they need to know what they've got in their quarterback. Is this the year? So they're giving him every weapon possible. So they got AJ Brown, elite. Devonta Smith, going into his second year. He did flash last year. Like, he had an okay rookie season. He hit some of those benchmarks you like to see out of rookies, which point to being a very, very good receiver with longevity in the league. You got Dallas Goedert, very good tight end. Jalen Reagor, question mark? But yeah, he could be a thing. Maybe he'll come forward. But then you got Miles Sanders, Kenny Gainwell. Like, you've got all these offensive pieces in place. And with Jalen Hurts, you got his legs and rushing upside, as you were just talking about with like Lance and Lawrence and Fields.
A lot of leg talk tonight.
A lot of leg talk. Yeah. So he has all that. And I think this is the year it's going to be one of those magical seasons where he just puts it all together and he ends up being QB1 overall.
I love it based almost entirely off of his rushing upside. I hate to keep belaboring that. And I know that everybody talks about Konami code quarterbacks right now, but like, he was only one half of the Konami code last year. Mm-hmm. He didn't have the passing is what's going to do it. Like, he's going to be able to balance that out this year. So I love it. AJ Brown and him eat brunch together. I hear that's a big thing.
That's good. And here's the thing too, like having the two very good wide receivers, one elite, one possibly could be elite someday. That's going to take defenses out of the box. So it will open up more rushing lanes for him, which I really like.
That's a great point. It's like if imagine Lamar Jackson had been able to play with Antonio Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster in those years that they did really well together. You know, like imagine that added threat instead of Big Ben trying to limp his way. And even Big Ben would pick up like decent chunks of yardage when he actually tried to run at that point because of what you're saying. So, yeah, I love it. I freaking love it, man. You know what else I love?
What do you love?
I love crushing people's hopes and dreams about Cam Akers. But yes, I also love Lamp. I do. That's not my bold prediction, but I do love Lamp. No, my bold prediction for running back, though, is that Mr. Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson are going to finish within 50 fantasy points of each other easily. I even want to break that down a little bit more. I just felt like it was a nice round number. It doesn't even say that's like 3 fantasy points per game difference. I don't know. Maybe it's not even bold enough. I'd go down to 40. I might even go down to 30. But my point being here is that Cam Akers is being drafted right now. I just checked his ADP, RB19. Henderson is RB43 currently in full PPR formats. I don't get the gap. I just don't get the gap. Because Darrell Henderson, all he's ever done when he's actually been on the field and getting the ball is produce incredibly well. He's been so efficient. He's been way more efficient than Cam Akers has been, not just last year, but even when Cam Akers got his turn in his rookie season, he was not anything close to what Darrell Henderson was by like every metric. And I know it's easy to just blame the injury last year and be like, he'll be a lot better. Akers will be a lot better this year because he won't be playing injured. Yeah, okay, I guess.
Could be.
If you're the head coach of this team, though, do you want to be rushing this guy into a full workload this year after seeing how he looked to end the season last, while also knowing that Darrell Henderson is on his last year with your team? Why would you not give that guy, who's been so efficient and is a really good pass catcher to boot, why not give that guy the touches, at least to split them, so that you can save this dude who is your future, I don't know, let's say for the next 2 to 3 years at least. You're not losing anything by doing that. And Sean McVay has already come out and said he views them both. This is straight from his mouth. This isn't a beat reporter. He views them both as starting running backs, and he wants them to complement each other and supplement each other and basically rotate. And it's right now in training camp, they are splitting first team reps down the middle. So whether that sticks throughout the entire season, I mean, it's probably dependent on who gets injured or doesn't. But assuming that they both magically do stay healthy for the majority of the season, it's so silly to me that this ADP golf is there because it's not going to look like that at the end of the season, I don't think.
Yeah, I am in lockstep with you on this one, Jake. I feel like this isn't very bold at all. I'm not high on Cam Akers, and I agree with you 100%. I think they're going to finish very close. Excuse me. And the folks that are picking Akers that early in their drafts are going to end up regretting it at the end of the season.
Yeah. I mean, I'm at least glad that his ADP is dropping a little bit. It seems like people are maybe starting to take that to heart, but it's got to drop a little bit more for me.
Same here. All right. My running back. Bold prediction is that Aaron Jones and Travis Etienne will finish as top 5 running backs this season.
I love it.
So I think we talked about Aaron Jones last week with our bold predictions. No, that's this week. NFC North. My words. What's wrong with me?
Where are they? I can't find them. I can't find them.
I don't taste pennies, so I'm not having a stroke.
Do you smell toast? That's
no.
the other indicator.
No,
Okay.
I don't. So
Then you're good.
Well, am I though?
I don't know. Maybe it's this beer. Maybe it's this blueberry blonde that's getting to you.
Maybe I'm allergic to blueberries.
Oh my God.
I'm not.
What a
Don't
twist.
worry. Anyway, so we talked Aaron Jones quite a bit last week, and how our guest last week said it wouldn't be out of the question that Aaron Jones finishes as the RB1 overall. While I don't think that's necessarily going to happen, it very well could. So I think we talked about that last week. And if you didn't hear that last week, pause the episode right here. Go back and listen to the divisional breakdown, NFC North from last week. We did the Packers at the end of the episode, but please listen to the whole thing. But if you just want it, go to about probably 45 minutes into the episode. That's probably about the time we started talking Packers. And you'll hear everything that our guests and ourselves had to say about the Pack and Aaron Jones. So I don't need to go into that in too much more detail. But ETN, I'll admit, I was not high on him last year when he was drafted. I thought he was going way too early in drafts. And then the injury happened, which I know we can't predict injury. So I don't hold that against him or anyone else. But with the coaching change there and just, as you've said, the reset with Lawrence, he's got his buddy from college. They were played together there at Clemson, and Etienne is healthy and he has, 0 restrictions here in training camp, I have totally changed my tune and think he's going to have a great season this year. And as I said, top 5 running back. Like, I think it's in place there where James Robinson is probably not going to come back until at least middle of the season. So there's basically no competition for him there. And he's a great pass catcher out of the backfield. So he's going to, and that's what you need to be top 5. Unless you're Derrick Henry, you need to be able to catch passes and catch a lot of balls out of the backfield, which he's going to do that. Plus he's also going to be running in between the tackles and getting all the rushing attempts too. So that being said, that's why I think they're going to be top 5, both of them.
I really like this. I've been really high on Travis Etienne and have loved where his ADP has been for now. And it's so crazy because it is low. I mean, it's 3rd round at best. Maybe that'll change as we get closer to the actual true start of the season. But
maybe once we see some preseason games and you actually see him out on the field playing, he busts like a big one open or something. But I hope it stays a little depressed. I would love to be able to snag him. Yeah, in like the 3rd or 4th round. I think that'd be chef's kiss.
I think people need to see the rushing. Like, I don't think anybody is debating his pass catching. And it feels like people want to see the rushing. And I'm not worried about that. He's exactly like DeAndre Swift was to me when we hadn't seen him play that. It's like, well, I know that DeAndre Swift is not a very good runner. And I apologize. I'm sorry. He if you've seen him compared to like a typical just average rusher.
If you see him compared to Derrick Henry, he's a terrible pure rusher. Yeah, of course. Everyone's a terrible rusher compared to him.
Just called Derrick Henry an average runner. That's what I just heard. Because I said if you compare him to an average runner, he's worse. And then he said that it was Derrick Henry. So that's mathematically, that's how that works. But in any case,
it's my words.
In any case, let me put it this way. I think Travis Etienne is a better rusher than DeAndre Swift is. And they both have the same level of grabby potential. Let's say they're both going to be that good as pass catchers. Okay, yeah, I shouldn't have done that probably with my hands there, and I regret that immediately. But in terms of grabbing the football out of the backfield when it's thrown to them, they're both going to be incredible. And again, Etienne has a different level than Swift does for that, which is why I think it's not crazy to say that he could finish as top 5 there. People are still thinking that DeAndre Swift could do that. I don't think that, but I agree with you that Etienne could.
All right. Take us home, Jake, here.
Wide receivers. We're going to finish off spicy. I like that we're doing this. If you've listened to this podcast at all this offseason, you know that I love T. Higgins. I love T. Higgins so much that I'm saying he will outscore Jamar Chase in more of their week-to-week matchups, meaning each week pit their scores against each other. T. Higgins is going to have more where he outscores Jamar Chase. I realize that's a stupid way of saying it, so I just want to clarify.
No, I think that makes perfect sense.
Perhaps Jamar Chase has a couple of really big games that inflate his stats. Maybe at the end of the season, he looks better than T. Higgins. Maybe. I don't even think that's true. But if we're just looking at them head-to-head, week-to-week, there is nobody that I would rather have almost altogether than T. Higgins. Like, he's so close to being in my top 3 this year for wide receivers overall. It's insane. And Jamar Chase is that guy for a lot of people.
Yeah. So what you're saying is T. Higgins is going to be the more consistent receiver that you can count on in that offense.
Absolutely. And I still think that his ceiling is incredible. It might just not be 60 points in a game like Jamar Chase had that one game last year. You know, if you're banking on that or want that, maybe you can't get that from T. Higgins.
No.
You also probably can't get that from Jamar Chase again this year, but who knows? Things could be crazy. I looked to last year, and there was a couple of really big turning moments. And T. Higgins, about halfway through the season, started to collect more targets than Chase, started to outperform Chase in basically every level. It was just that he didn't blow up as often. and people are left with Jamar Chase's end of year finishes, which were amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And they forget that he actually busted quite a lot once T. Higgins started to come back on. Now, we've talked about this previously, that maybe you think Jamar Chase just sort of got worn down. He'd been out of football. He wasn't playing as often, right? He hadn't been playing as often. So
I had a whole thing ready, and
it's Groundhog's
right
Day,
from
Dustin. We've already had this discussion, probably like on that episode where we talked about the Bengals, if I'm not mistaken. But
I'm so
and I
disappointed
understand
right
that. I understand that. I'm not willing to put my confidence that he was just worn down. I saw T. Higgins take strides up. That was just, you saw him playing as a decoy in a lot of games almost to start the season. Kind of how AJ Green used to when he was always hurt. And AJ Green would go out there and you're like, can I start him? Because I need to see him on the active list and then I'll start him. But then you were bummed because he was healthy, quote unquote, but they weren't throwing the ball to him. And that's what I say a lot from T. Higgins.
Here's what I think it is, Jake. So Chase and Burrow were teammates at LSU. So I think Burrow just forgot.
I hadn't heard that. That's incredible.
I think that Burrow just kind of forgot that T. Higgins was a elite wide receiver that he also had on his team. She's like, hey, I'm going to throw it to my buddy. And then he's like, oh yeah, I got this other guy over here who's also super fucking good. I should throw him the ball too.
Maybe that's what happened. He just forgot. He's like, oh, he had stars in his eyes for Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
And then it worked out for like those first couple of games real well.
Yeah.
And then when it stopped working out a little bit less, he's like, well, what the fuck do I do? And he's like, oh, right. Here's this stud who was also hampered by injury again. I can't belabor that enough. Him and his quarterback both hampered by injury. But yeah, I'm all in on T. Higgins. I'm drafting T. Higgins ahead of Jamar Chase if I had to. Straight up, you don't have to do that, luckily, so you can take the value.
That's right. Yep. All right, let's finish it off here. Now, this one, Jake, I've got to modify slightly just based on the news today. I would have been disappointed if news broke at if this happened tomorrow. I would have been disappointed and would have kind of nullified the bold prediction. But so I'm going to modify it just slightly. So this is my original, and I'll tell you how I'm going to modify it. So my original bold prediction was that the Jaguars wide receiver core of Kirk, Shenault, Jones, and Jones Jr., so 4, will outscore the Broncos wide receiver core of Sutton, Judy, Patrick, and Hamler. Obviously, with Patrick's injury, he's out for the season. So I will still stick with Sutton, Judy, and Hamler as the 3 wide receivers. Okay. So I'm going to go from 4 to 3. Now, this is what I was thinking for the Jags.
Okay.
I'll say Kirk, Shenault, and Jones Jr.
Okay, clarify for me and for the listener. Yes, thank you. Because when you said Jones and Jones Jr., I could not immediately think of who
Zay
the other
Jones.
was.
Yeah, Zay Jones, Marvin Jones Jr.
Okay, fair enough. So who are you keeping out of the 3 here for this?
Marvin Jones Jr., Laviska Shenault, and Christian Kirk.
All right.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, I feel like the Jags offense is really, and this is piggybacking off of what you said, kind of, if you're expecting Trevor Lawrence to have that reset this year and do really well, obviously the offense is taking a step forward. Obviously we're like high on the Jags offense taking a big step forward. If I've got ETN top 5, I got the wide receivers going to do well. You've got Lawrence taking a step forward. We're just really high on this Jags offense, really turning things around this year.
I don't think I'm quite as high as you are, but yes, we are definitely high on this offense.
Yes. So yeah, I know everyone's all excited about Russell Wilson and this offense in Denver, which it very well should be, but I got a feeling, and it's bold.
It's real bold.
Mm-hmm.
I actually was just about to type this into the chat to Mr. Scampers. Mr. Scampers, thank you for sticking with us here, by the way. You've had wonderful contributions in the chat. I just said Marvin Jones top 25 finish.
Woo!
Do you agree that is in the realm of possibility for Marvin Jones? And in the realm, meaning more likely than not.
Is it in the realm? Yes, it is.
Where would
Yes.
you? I mean, so you've got this trio. You've got Kirk, Chenault, and Marvin Jones. Who, in your opinion, leads the depth chart there?
I think it's going to be Kirk because they paid him a crap ton of money. So they're going to feed him the ball. So, but that doesn't mean he's going to be like top 12 or top 24. Like he could finish. Well, he could finish as like number 24 and Jones could finish as 25. It could be a more even split in that offense than what we think. But I do think target share wise, Kirk is going to get the majority of it on that offense.
That makes me sad because I wanted Marvin Jones so badly last year, and he came out swinging. He looked good for those first few weeks, and he actually won you some weeks, and then he really tapered off. And I'm still bullish on him in best ball. Probably not, maybe as much in redraft. I'm going to clarify my statement, by the way, that I typed in before. Marvin Jones, top 25 finish first 8 weeks. And then it's anybody's ball game. But those first 8 weeks are going to be amazing for him, I think. This is very bold because I think you and I both love Cortland Sutton.
Love him.
It's really just at this point, then, maybe a disbelief in Judy.
Yeah, and maybe Russ just doesn't cook as much as we're thinking he's going to. Maybe they are a little bit more run heavy on that offense and rely on those 2 stud running backs they have.
Yeah,
you know, could be a thing.
Yeah, it's possible. I don't know. I'm projecting big things for Denver, so this is going to be a really interesting one to see shake out. If Russ has anything to say about it, you know what Russ would say? Believe in me. I have talent, and let's go.
He'd say, "What is talent?"
Say, let's go. Let's go. Bronco Nation. Let's go. That's what he'd say.
All right. That's enough of that. Boy. Okay. Any last thoughts here before we sign off for the week, Jake?
No. The one thing that I do want to say that I forgot to mention for our drunk trade of the week after that segment, if you have them, if you want to send them to us, feel free to keep writing them in. Send them to our DMs. That's completely cool. But also, if you want to be a little bit more featured in the episode, send us a video clip of you talking about that drunk trade or just an audio clip. I'm actually going to set up a little messaging service that you can call into. I'll post that out on Twitter so that you can just leave a message telling us about your drunk trade, and then your voice and or face will be featured in our episodes.
That's right. And I think that's going to be terrific. And I think all of you out there will love that. So thank you for bringing that up, Jake. Keep your eyes on Twitter for the official announcement of when that's live, the messaging thing. And yeah, I can't wait to get more of those drunk trades and actually hear people's voices and the pain and agony of these drunk trades that they went through, or the joy of being on the receiving end of a drunk trade.
Yeah,
it goes both ways. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Can't wait to see that. So for Jake, at Jake Trowbridge on Twitter, for myself at FF Dusty Dog, hit us up at Drinking Fantasy. Give us a like, rate, review, anywhere you find your podcast. Subscribe to us here on YouTube. Click the bell. You'll get notifications when we go live, so you can see our beautiful faces every single week. And until next week, folks, keep drinking and talking fantasy football.
Cheers, FFers.